Hello and welcome to another episode of HEX Therapy Live / Pulse Therapy Live. I'm your host, ALLin, and I'm really excited. Today we've got new all-time highs in HEX, and even more importantly, to some, is the community. I ran a poll in the past few days asking people what they like most about HEX, forcing them to choose only one thing out of the following choices. Do you like the immutable math that creates trustless interest? Do you like the community, or do you like the mental health gains? And we'll find out the answers to that survey after this intro. Thanks for being here. Got a great show for you here tonight. We're going to be talking about sudden wealth syndrome and how that compares to something that I made up called sudden wealth strength. And so first, we'll be looking at the results of the survey that ran in the past few days. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so everybody can pretend like they're reading it, but also I'll talk about it out loud here. We had 300 votes. So thanks again for everybody who's been participating in these community polls that have been going on. You can find them on the channel site, youtube.com/MattyAllin, under the community tab, or sometimes they'll just pop up whenever you're scrolling through YouTube. And so over 300 people responded to this survey from 2 days ago that was asking, pick one best part of HEX crypto for you. And 48% said that they love the Hexican community the best. 35% said the best thing about HEX is the smart contracts / mathematics. And 17% said life-changing mental health. And so those are all really good reasons to be involved in a cryptocurrency, especially one that has these emergent properties, because you'll notice that price go up, which is one of the best features of cryptocurrencies, is not listed there, right? Because that's pretty obvious. Those of us who are in crypto know that we like it when the number goes up. And if you're in a coin that had the best performance in 2020, aka HEX, there's nothing wrong with finding out that you're getting even more out of your investment than just a monetary reward. You might be getting other rewards, like being a member of this community, by understanding and appreciating more about what crypto is really meant to be, which is decentralized finance, aka operating on a smart contract that can't change based on which programmers are feeling like doing something for the day in Bitcoin Core or in Ethereum, right? Working on ETH 2.0 until the cows come home, but at the end of the day, still paying high fees all too often. Gas fees are, at very low levels today, but that doesn't mean that the design isn't flawed when you're burning so much electricity to try to prove that there's no double spending going on, right? Proof of stake is a much better way to, to have trust and to check transactions. And so that's why we're so excited about Pulse Chain coming out here in the near future, right? And so we saw Richard Hart streamed yesterday and continues to answer questions, continues to tease us with all the latest developments. And what that's really allowed people to do is to onboard more people, to get the awareness out there, and to position themselves so that they'll be able to take advantage of the next thing that's been created by the creator of HEX, and the next thing that's going to integrate into this technology stack of things that are better than everything else, right? And part of the reason we see that is because HEX is using the best ideas in crypto, right? I've been a part of some of the private chats that Richard has been coordinating between people who are contributing game theory to the pulse chain development. And I can tell you, after reading thousands of messages in there, that all ideas are being considered, are being decided, and that's exciting. It's really exciting to take, again, to go back to what DeFi is about. It's about open source. And when it comes to open source, it turns out you can mix and match the best ideas. And, you know, if you're a greedy, centralized middleman, then you might get off track. But if you're somebody who has a higher purpose, such as the people in the HEX community, then you might end up contributing things that are so much better than everything else that came before it. That's what technology and human progress is supposed to be about, right? It is about improving on every iteration, not making the same mistakes over and over again, right? And growing as a function of of collaboration, of teamwork, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. And so that's why I'm excited about our different topics here today on HEX therapy, which is further integrating these different ideas that are highly compatible in terms of HEX being a mechanism by which people can change their own behavior, right? When it comes to creating a savings plan, and then your past self, sure enough, holds you to it because you're using a smart contract. You've created a smart contract with yourself that is validated by the network, right? And so when you create your savings plan and then you incentivize yourself to save for the future, that's one example of behavior change. And what we're exploring in this channel and on this show is all these ways that we can come up with to program behavior even further, right? And so I see the topic today of sudden wealth syndrome and what's the antidote to that? What's the design decisions that we can make in order to find ways to operate more effectively? What happens when the shock wears off? That your number went up much more than you thought it could, much faster than you thought it could, or even if you predicted it, right? Then sometimes your mind is going to take some time to adjust, and you're going to be riding that emotional roller coaster. And so the more you can learn from that, and the more you can avoid some of the downsides, right? Because everybody dreams about getting rich, but then what happens next does take preparation. And we can learn from other people and learn from each other, which is part of the reason why I think the number one answer here on this survey was the Hexaking community, right? Now, and I'm not offended, right? That like life-changing mental health, like if there's 17% of people who love that even more than the community, even more than the math, like that warms my heart. I love all three of these things. I feel like a terrible person making you choose only one, right? Whenever in reality, you're getting all of them. That's kind of a false choice, but hopefully you will forgive me. Because it's interesting, right? It's interesting to see if people are forced to only choose one thing, which thing are they the most excited about? What's the best for them at this moment, right? So I was excited to get 300 people to respond to this. I'm very grateful to the community for um, tuning in. Now, here's another question that I asked in the past week, since the last time that we had an episode of Hex Therapy. And this question was meant to also kind of educate people who are answering it about what are the symptoms of what I call crypto sudden wealth syndrome. Have you experienced any of the following symptoms? Shock, depression, paying off debts, anxiety, insomnia, feeling not worthy, gambling due to guilt, losing meaning from work, having a lack of purpose. And 293 people came across this survey and decided to answer it. And I found it extremely interesting and a little surprising as well that we had 42% of people who responded to this survey, people who probably watch the channel or subscribe. By the way, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button now. Because 42% of you who responded said that they have had some of these symptoms that they attribute to HEX crypto sudden wealth syndrome. Wow, that's a lot of people, right? That's over 100 people, right? And now, and of course, when we do a survey, we'd imagine that there's probably more people out there who didn't take this survey and are also experiencing the same thing, right? Maybe YouTube didn't show you this one. You can always go to the community tab there and fill out all these surveys just once now. Don't use it. If you used a bunch of fake accounts to help get me over 1,000 subscribers, I owe you a debt of gratitude. But as far as this survey stuff goes, we don't want to fake the numbers out in any certain way. So 58% of the people who responded are still waiting for HEX crypto sudden wealth syndrome to occur. If we looked at those numbers in Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other coin, I think we would be hard pressed to find an example of another crypto that has 42% of people who at the same time are experiencing crypto sudden wealth syndrome. And, this is just my intuition. I'm speaking from experience, and that's not common. So that's special is what I'm trying to say. And I think that it's occurring not because of luck, but by design, right? When somebody, a group of people get together and predict something will happen, and then it happens, right? That's a good sign. And then if it keeps happening, right? If all the data points line up, and if you can look at HEX and say, all right, it has all these properties of being better than the other products on the market or other projects that aren't even complete products, right? That's kind of telling. And so lots of people can still be shocked and think that they missed the boat, but they're going to keep missing the boat over and over again unless they really do their own research and they look at the indicators, right? And the indicators are HEX has an extremely strong community. I went out and I messaged many of the people who are there on Telegram who have their own HEX shows. And I've reached out today and I've asked everybody to go ahead and see if they'd be willing to do a 1-minute testimonial video in order to say how HEX has helped them. And my intention there is I've teamed up with one of the other community members, Markable Thoughts, who was kind enough to make a compilation video of all of the testimonials that were created by Johnny Chaos's campaign on Twitter to have people do a testimonial about why they think HEX should be listed on Coinbase. And, it's not too surprising that that had a really powerful effect whenever our community got together to organize something, right? To um, to put our efforts together, because sure enough, we just found out that it looks like OKX in exchange went ahead and reached out to Richard and to other members of the community to find out more about, or I guess express their interest in listing HEX on that exchange, right? And as people in HEX, we can go ahead and have plenty of mixed opinions about whether or not we like HEX being offered on a centralized exchange. I think it's pretty special that it hasn't been in any significant volume ratio to date, right? About 99% or more of HEX has traded on decentralized exchanges. But as HEX continues to mature, there are going to be a lot more opportunities to make it easier to buy HEX, and possibly to allow, and this is the part that's also kind of interesting, possibly to allow bigger players to step in and make their stake by making their own personal investment in HEX and then wanting it to succeed. Right now, we've got a bunch of people who maybe were not super wealthy to begin with, who have been able to attain sudden wealth syndrome by using this revolutionary new product that allows you to lock in for a certain amount of time something of value that ends up allowing you to send money to your future self, right? And so I think my prediction would be that we're going to see a lot more of this. HEX hitting more all-time highs because it's designed to perform well even in a bear market, even in a bull market, right? This is not financial advice. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but that's the design intention, at least. And many of the designs, they're not just talk, right? You can go and you can look at the hex code at etherscan.io, and you have to click a few different places in order to get to the raw code. And then you can go and look at line 719 of the code, and that's my favorite line, where it says that the maximum amount of time that you can stake for is 5,555 days, Quattro Cinco. And now, if you want to make it a little bit easier on yourself, you can go to my website, which has 50 links with different tools that can help you to learn more about HEX. And you can find all those tools at allmylinks.com/allin. I'll go ahead and put that on the screen here for people. Oh, thank you so much, KCW, for the $20 super chat, saying that you love this content, so unique and interesting. Thanks, Maddie. My pleasure. I'm super excited that you're tuning in, and thank you for the $20 super chat. So here's my link, allmylinks.com/allin, and one of the links there is going to be a link to the HEX contract on Etherscan. So you'll be able to check it out for yourself and not have to click all those extra tabs to be able to find where it's listed. So hopefully that helps, right? So it is this smart contract that is allowing people to create staking ladders. So you could have HEX coming out to your future self once a year or multiple times a year, and then that allows you to have passive income, right? But maybe even more importantly, to make it so that you structure your selling behavior so that you can reinvest your principal, you can live off your interest, and you won't sell too early, which is one of the design parameters of Bitcoin that ended up getting improved with HEX. Because even though Bitcoin had a time lock function, still does, people didn't use it because it wasn't incentivized by the Bitcoin code paying interest in order to incentivize that behavior. And so even though it might take some time for people to understand what they've got here, is something that is far more advanced than other cryptocurrencies when it comes to what matters, which is humans actually acting on the incentives that cause the system to do what it's designed to do, which is to send value into the future, to store value, right? And I love the fact that there have been over 10,000 experiments in cryptocurrency. And I love that there have been so many breakthroughs, especially in the past year and a half. HEX may have gotten lucky in the sense that it was released around the same time that decentralized exchanges were really becoming released, and then HEX was one of several products or projects that made this popular. Uniswap, 1inch, right, and all of their knockoffs. But what we see in any system that doesn't have the right incentives aligned under these very, very specific parameters, right? How many other cryptos were launched by an entity, by an origin address that retained control of a huge chunk of the supply, but not in order to enrich itself, but in order to create dynamic economic policy going into the future, and possibly even to trick some people into thinking that it's a scam, because the people you really want to trick into thinking it's a scam are those old whales that seem to wind up in every new thing that turns out to be great. Those venture capitalists, they show up and end up taking things over because they're the ones who have all the power in the world. And they maintain it by continuing to be able to buy into things and to have the resources to identify things that are going to be great ahead of time. But imagine what would have happened if they came across HEX, which some of them did, and there was this positive actor in the space that was intentionally trying to keep them out. Well, they would probably take the bait and swim away, not really wanting to invest in something that they couldn't rig themselves. And so that's one of the reasons I think that people will continue to appreciate more and more about HEX's design and launch and game mechanics, because it's very unique. There have been other projects that surprised people with upside that was sacrificial in a way. So there's a coin that I've dollar cost averaged out of because it didn't have a strong community that I got into around the same time as HEX, called Mimblewimble coin. And even though there were a lot of good technical parameters to this, and it was very promising, I found that the community wasn't as strong with a privacy coin, which makes sense that people don't want to go out of their way to start streaming or to educate others to add value to the community in the way people are with HEX, if their primary purpose is to have privacy. But nevertheless, the developers of Mimblewimble coin, they did a surprise giveaway of the chunk of coins that they had said that they were going to keep for development. And so it's launch mechanics and origin stories like this that go against the centralization that seems to plague many projects that start off with good intentions, like Bitcoin, that set off to change the system, but eventually become the system that they were trying to prevent. Case in point, the Bitcoin conference in Miami this last weekend. Where do I begin, right? You've probably already heard people say that it was a cringe fest, And if you watched hours of talks, you know that some moments were better than others. And, you know, the part where, what's his name, is ripping up that bill with Rand Neuner and Max Kaiser, you know, he's going off on people, talking about how he can buy senators, and so he doesn't care if he breaks the law, that sort of thing. I mean, you know, he knew what he was doing. That's his style, right? Of being controversial and being outrageous, and you know, sure, that works for him. I want to tell you about some other parts that I observed. For example, why is it that the morality panel had a representative from a derivatives exchange on it? They didn't seem to have anything to add to the conversation. Well, I know how he ended up there. It's because he paid his way on. And obviously, you know, exchanges that make money, centralized exchanges that make money off of people gambling with high leverage, they are going to be the ones that can spend money in order to buy influence, even with people that are setting off with good intentions and doing things on a community standard. The other thing that I noticed was different between this year's HEX conference, which I was honored to host, and the Bitcoin conference, is that the Bitcoin conference was filled with ads for also centralized entities, you know? And I'm not sure if it was just the BTC magazine channel that was showing these ads, but it looked like even when we look at who was on the morality panel, right? There were some people on there that I respect. Robert Breedlove, I respect that dude. He's very smart. There was another panel with Jeff Booth on it. That's the guy who talks about how technology can lead to abundance if middlemen aren't stealing everything through inflation, right? And so technology is deflationary, and you know, we should, as a society, we should choose to make sure that benefits everybody, not just the people who are currently in power. And but when the incentives, when the economic system is not designed to protect and to promote those types of non-selfish public good incentives, then what else do you expect, right? So again, we see in HEX a different story, because what we find is that time and time again, we're seeing members of the community giving freely of their knowledge, their resources, their expertise in many different fields. We see tons of leadership, right, of people who aren't directly benefiting or, you know, are paying a cost, right? When all of us in HEX, when we stream, you know, we're kind of giving up our identity to some extent. We're putting ourselves, you know, into a situation where there's going to be pros and cons to that, right? But the reason we do it is because we see so many other people in the community, and it's really an honor to give back, because other people have given so much to us, and HEX itself, I think, is a extremely worthy cause to fight for, because it provides an alternative to really the mechanics of Bitcoin, right? There's a similar narrative, right? At the Bitcoin conference, they made the case that Bitcoin makes for better people. You know, that Bitcoin can, they didn't say helps your mental health, but they said that it helps your character. And I think that Hex does a way better job of that. And that's what we see in the community, right? And so I would love it, and I'll commit to doing my part to making it so that we don't fall victim to the same things, because at the end of the day, I have stakes that are locked for 15 years. So why do I have to take money from advertisers, right? That seems like a conflict of interest that seems to just be accepted, because although the internet, you know, it connects us, it makes us able to project to a larger audience. It also takes money away from the old way of doing things with local newspapers and news people who they were getting revenue from local businesses. And so when we move to a more globalized power structure, Facebook and Google, they are able to compete, especially with practices that allow for monopolistic behavior, right? Amazon didn't pay sales taxes for a long time and haven't really, Amazon hasn't paid a lot of other taxes as well. So it's, so when the rules of the system, when they're set up to not protect, to not even enable decentralized finance, that's when we see that these two systems are going to diverge, and one's going to be clearly better than the other in a number of ways. And so if we can be part of that system that's better and stop the pattern of cryptos that talk a good game, they have a good narrative, but then they squander their opportunity to change the world, right? People who got rich in Bitcoin, why do they need ad money to put on a conference, right? Why do they need to charge $1,700 to get in? I don't know. Maybe there are good reasons, but these questions I think are worth asking. Why do they have to have derivatives exchange, centralized middlemen on the morality panel? Furthermore, I'm just going down a random laundry list of reasons why I was a little disappointed with the Bitcoin conference. Let's see. Trace Mayer wasn't there, and that made me wonder. I mean, he's been hanging out with Caitlin Long in Wyoming, doing a lot of legislative reform there. He hasn't had any episodes on his podcast in quite some time. I mean, early on, he contributed in a number of ways to popularize Bitcoin when the project was more about being decentralized. He also had the initiative called Proof of Keys, where every year there would be a day that people in Bitcoin, they would educate new members of the community, especially, about the value of holding your own keys. And that's where Andreas Antonopoulos got his famous line, "Not your keys, not your crypto." And so Trace Mayer, he popularized this idea of, once a year, everybody go ahead and learn about security to the point where you can take control of your own keys from a centralized exchange, and the responsibility that goes with that. And let's make sure that these centralized exchanges even have the Bitcoin that they say they do, right? And so that's decentralized leaders saying stuff like that. But I haven't listened to the whole conference. I've listened to multiple hours of it. I didn't hear anybody saying anything about taking your keys off of exchanges. And I saw a lot of advertising for centralized exchanges. So, I mean, in HEX, we have the luxury of saying that our keys were never on. Our crypto, in a lot of cases, was never on a centralized exchange. I mean, sure, you could have bought HEX on Hotbit or a handful of other places, right? But people were doing arbitrage games there, which made it more expensive to do so. Again, lucky us, right, to have grown up in a different world than Bitcoin did, in a world where there are decentralized exchanges that don't have to KYC you, which means get a whole copy of your identity and your driver's license or your passport. That way they can just become a really good place for hackers to get into, right? A honeypot. There's all kinds of reasons why having the government know everything about your crypto, that's not how it was designed, right? Crypto was designed to combine this ethos of cryptographic privacy, because in the end, information especially financial information, can be used against you. And also being able to prove that more coins aren't being created outside of the rules of the system. So you need a public ledger in order to make it so that we know that nobody showed up with extra copies of their coins. So that would defeat the digital scarcity idea. And then also, how do we keep things private, right? And so having an account that's not linked directly to your name and identity, that was and continues to be one option that seems to be more and more only for advanced users. But when centralized exchanges are sponsoring the conferences and not inviting anybody who talks about holding your own private keys, you know, that seems like going in the wrong direction. So, you know, you can take it from me as the host of the first HEX conference that our goal is not to go down that same path of selling out, you know, at the end of the day. And I don't think it matters how popular HEX gets, because the incentives that were built into the system say that as somebody who's part of the public broadcasting system in HEX, I'm locked in for 15 years, and you know, I got in before it was, you know, I got in early enough, and I would say still today it's early enough that I have a stake in, and I have a staking ladder where I might not need to take money from middlemen who are going to screw over my audience, because I've got my own money from HEX, right? And so where are all the OG Bitcoiners who became billionaires because they got in early? Well, they didn't time lock their Bitcoin, so they may have sold when they got to the point of being millionaires. And if that achieved like the goal that they set out for, then that's great. But I don't want to hear about how they're going to keep changing the world whenever the people who are on the front line and who are on the stage, when they're not using the principles that we know crypto was invented for or aspired to be, right? And then as I hear the narrative get more and more filled with rhetoric, right, and promises that don't exist, using the Lightning Network, we were joking about it on the Quant Gang stream, because it's so ridiculous to think that people would be okay with locking up their money in order to just make a transaction. Like that is wrong on a number of levels. The people who need cheap transactions the most are the people who need the money to get out, to not be locked in a channel in order to create the system in the first place. That's not a solution. So like Richard Hart says, founder of HEX, Bitcoin is used more on the Ethereum network, being wrapped, right? Wrapped Bitcoin. The value of wrapped Bitcoin exceeds, on the Ethereum network, exceeds the amount of Bitcoin in the Lightning network. So we're going to continue to see a discrepancy between reality and the narrative that's presented in Bitcoin. I believe that will continue to grow as more and more marketers get into the system who don't have a stake in making the system better. Whereas in HEX, you're going to find the opposite. So for example, HEX allowed me to have enough financial freedom for the next few months to the point where I could start focusing my energy not only on continuing to promote HEX and mental health, but also to start working with other members of the community in order to create an app that will make it easier for people to do the behavior change that's already built into HEX, which is to improve your ability to save by limiting your future self from selling everything ahead of schedule, right? Another way I say that is paying your future self. Just having one moment of clarity, it can make all the difference instead of having to have every moment of clarity in order to stick to your plan, right? Impulsivity and mood swings, up or down, can cause people to fail to meet their long-term plans. And unlike economists who have won the Nobel Prize, the people who are using HEX are finding out that HEX can actually change people to make them better at saving, not just highlight whether people in general are good or bad. I think that it's a travesty that the Nobel Prize was given to two men who decided that people are bad at saving. And so thank God centralized governments force people to save, through pension systems and whatnot, that just become another way for them to fund their corrupt projects and to steal wealth from the future, all while saying that they're doing the world a great deal of good because people are bad at saving. I predict that someday it will be written in economic books, or whatever we call the truth, more importantly, that it will become clear that it's not so much people are bad at saving as the money that people were using made people bad at saving. So this is that concept of your economic environment, the types of rules that's attached to the money that you use, that determines your behavior much more than most would realize. Because when your economic value is inflated away from you, aka stolen from you, year after year in a compounding fashion, such that in the best case, in the best country in the world, they steal half your wealth, half your buying power every 10 to 15 years during good cycles, right? Then that creates an incentive for people to live on debt, for people to borrow from their future selves, and to be indebted to changing rules and changing governments and power structures that are incentivized to not think about long-term dynamics, to not encourage the right behaviors, right? And so I don't think you deserve a Nobel Prize for, first of all, not changing anything, but just pointing out that people suck and even getting that part wrong. Because it's not people that suck, it's the money itself that's unhealthy. And so that's why my goal, and what HEX I hope is going to allow me to do, is to try to promote this idea of programming mental health into money, programming healthy behaviors, healthy habits. When we have programmable money that's decentralized, aka HEX, it creates a lot more superpowers for us as opposed to liabilities, right? Because in a system where you only have physical money, so that money is not programmable, for example, you can't pay yourself to change a behavior. In HEX, you can pay your future self by doing a time locking behavior, that's the function of saving money. And And one of the emergent properties of that, while we're on the topic, I mean, so there are a number of insights here that I think are valuable for the audience to hear. So that's what healthy money looks like. When you can create your own behavior change, you can pay yourself, not just to save, but to maybe do other things, right? And so that's what HEX therapy has, um, you know, has been exploring in the 6 or 8 months that we've been going, is this idea that you see there linked in the description below on YouTube, is this this article that I wrote that I felt very inspired by. These ideas of being able to behavior lock your money. So only if you quit smoking or you lose weight or you reach your fitness goals do you unlock an amount of money that you've set aside to do just that, to motivate yourself. And so for the first time in history, it doesn't take an external force to motivate you, but you can program your own internal motivation. It's a powerful concept, and I believe it's achievable now with HEX because the incentives are aligned to the point where good actors will promote good behaviors and won't steal value from the system. In the fiat system, the reason why you don't have to pay taxes to pay for everything is because money is printed out of the denominator, right? So they can just print more dollars and decide where those dollars go first. And then everybody else's dollars are suddenly worth less because they're not as rare. And so even design parameters like that lead to worse and worse outcomes. Like iller and iller money is created by that type of an incentive structure, right? Where people don't mind voting people in who are going to give them the most, even if it's stealing from their future self or their present self. This is a competitive environment that has become very unequal because of the centralization of power and of technology, frankly. And so having a technology that levels the playing field and actually sticks to its own narrative, that's something that I think can change the world in a lot of ways. But don't take my word for it, right? Go ahead and talk to the 120 people who took this survey that we're looking at out of only less than 300 people who have experienced Sudden-Wealth syndrome. And what you'll find is this is a group of people, this is the most powerful part of HEX, which is why I'm glad that people actually realized that in the more recent survey here. We don't talk about it enough. The fact that now there's this huge group of people from this survey, right? I keep switching back and forth between these two. The amount of people that has had Sudden-Wealth syndrome continues to increase in HEX as we continue to make new all-time highs. The thing that's not obvious is how motivated and incentivized those people are to give back to the community and to build great things. Bitcoin does not have an abundance of the commons. Bitcoin and other systems that preceded HEX, they have a tragedy of the commons. That's what it's called. I was going to say a scarcity, but yeah, that's the economic term. Tragedy of the commons. So I'm like feeling really lucky to be able to be one of the leaders in this space, having been inspired by all the leadership of the community itself, right? Whether it's people who were streaming before, they motivated me to get involved, and HEX motivated me to get involved, and I motivated myself, right? Discourse Syndicate, Hexologist, crypto coffee, right? Um, the individuals that currently go by crypto knights of the round table, right? Um, like everybody in the community who streams, whether I'm able to mention you off the top of my head or not, like it was the community in its entirety that really showed me that Hex is something different. I mean, even the Annette did a challenge on Twitter, and that inspired me, right? To do a post, and that's how it starts. That's how they reel you in, is by being able to see so many other people who are giving, right, and who are standing up and saying, you know, I want to tell other people about this, whether it's the people in my personal life who I love, who I want them to know all the cool things that I've discovered that crypto can do nowadays, but also um, being able to talk to strangers. Before I got involved in hex streaming, I didn't get the chance to talk every day with people who were as knowledgeable and excited about cryptocurrency as I am. And that's why I'm so excited that we're going to have this first mass meetup for the Hexagon.Vegas community. And we've got over 200 people traveling from all over the place who are going to be meeting up here in Vegas in 2 weeks. And then we're going to be live streaming some of it, and other parts will be for people who are there physically. It's going to be an awesome time. And so I think that's the kind of energy that we're building. And again, that's powerful because other people are going to look at that and decide to get involved. So I hope that everybody who's watching now will consider doing your part in order to make a 1-minute testimonial video. This isn't the end all be all. This is just a chance to pause here today, June 10th, right? And to say, yeah, you know, like Hex helped me in one way or another. Or you could say, this is why I like Hex. This is why Hex is different. And the more people, whether you show your face or not, the more people who come forward, and I've already seen a number of examples that are outstanding. This is going to be some of the most powerful content that we can create. Are going to be these 1-minute videos. Go ahead and post it to Twitter, #HexChallenge, or direct message it to me. If you don't have Twitter or you don't want to do that, you can send it to any of my contact direct message links at allmylinks.com/allin. I've got email, maddieallin@protonmail.com, Twitter direct message, or Telegram, t.me/maddieallin. And Markable Thoughts and I, we're going to, use our elbow grease to cut up these videos and put them into a mega testimonial. And then we'll be able to help people understand how they can create a link that goes directly to their part of the video. So you can share it with anybody you want to. And then they'll be able to see the power of your participation in the Hex community. And they just might get inspired and motivated to do the second part of the plan, which is to get involved in the Hex community, to become stakers themselves. And I think what people are going to find, the more that we talk about the psychology of onboarding, which is one of the topics that I'm going to be hitting really hard now that I've gone full-time crypto for now, right? I'm excited. Like I'm really excited because there are already a number of design parameters that I've been able to find with the members of the community that I'm working with in order to make an onboarding tool that doesn't exist yet, that can leverage a lot of the insights and the benefits of HEX, right? So I'm excited to share that the universe seems to be working in our favor, magically bringing together just the right people and tools that I would have imagined would have taken years to get together. It turns out that one of the programmers I'm working with has already been creating something in HEX that perfectly aligns with being able to integrate with some of the ideas that I've had and that we've had together as a team. And so that's why I'm so excited to say that these ideas are materializing at a very fast pace and are already proving to be extremely powerful components in part two, which is getting people more involved in HEX. Because once people get involved, number go up, and then community go up, and then smart people get together because they are the community, and HEX makes people smarter because it has this emergent property so far of causing sudden wealth, which causes economic independence and freedom, which allows people to have more time to give back to the community if they choose, right? And then the cycle repeats itself. And so what we're going to find is that every iteration, every so often, there's going to be a leap forward in the tools that are available in the HEX community, right? We've already seen that in a lot of different ways. The way that the community works together to do streams. There's 40 or 50 streamers at least. I've got them linked on my channel here. There's new ones every day, right? I didn't have to figure this out on my own. I got help from RG3 and from Crypto Coffee and from Hexologists, from Balliot Brand, from all the other people, Funding Jim. There's Johnny Chaos. There's so many people who are just super excited and motivated to help others, right? And so I'm really excited to see this most powerful force of community engagement be perpetuated in more and more powerful ways as the product continues to cause people to have healthier behaviors and behavior change, and continues to attract people who are already functioning well in the world or not, right? Like, come one, come all, right? To the smart contract that is going to allow you to send money to your future self and then pump your own bags till you get there, right? And so that's why I'm excited to announce that well, I want to say it's a mental health app. It's a HEX onboarding app is how the first phase, which like I said, is coming together beautifully. And because HEX is good for mental health, it seems like a good place to start. And because HEX has this compounding community effect, trademark coining that right now, the compound community effect of HEX is that's a powerful place to start. Now, if I can talk everybody watching, everybody who's watching into not only making a 60-second testimonial video and posting it on Twitter with hashtag HEX challenge, but if I can also talk you into taking omega 369, as long as you're not on any blood thinners, otherwise you would talk to your doctor. But omega 369, it's supposed to be in your diet anyway. It's supposed to be a part of the food that you eat. But a lot of people who are living in this world that has 8 billion people aren't able to get meat or fish that has grown the omega-3, which is the building material that your body needs in order to insulate electrical wires. And if you had the pleasure of sitting through as many brain classes, biopsychology classes as I have, you might have been bored to death by the fact that your brain is just a big bundle of electrical wires with a bunch of neurochemicals sprinkled in. And so it turns out that the electrical insulation that allows your brain to communicate most effectively, about 25% of the weight of your brain is supposed to be omega-3. And so sure enough, with so much production, with food having to be produced at such mass quantities, they're not able to let all of those cows, be grass-fed and that sort of thing. And so that's the exciting news, is that a lot of people can improve the functioning of their prefrontal cortex, even if you're already functioning well. And when your prefrontal cortex gets upgraded, like going from an iPhone 1 to an iPhone 21, then that's going to have a powerful effect not only on your ability to learn other behavior changes that are helpful for you, but it's an easy place to start. You can take 1,000 milligrams per day with food for the first week, and then go to 2,000 milligrams per day like I did. Even though that's not medical or financial advice, it is it's a biological command that your body was made to do that, to function in a well-insulated environment. If you plug in your phone charger and your animal is chewing on it to shreds, then you might not charge your phone. Same thing with your brain. If you're stuck in gambling mode, or you're just reacting to such an inflationary environment that's bad for your economic health, then it doesn't take many short-circuiting frontal lobe regions to lead you astray, which is why I'm happy to beat it into you. And if you look in the comments right now, there might even be some people who have already started taking omega-369 and can testify themselves, adding to my testimony, that I didn't know it would have a noticeable difference until I tried it, and it did. And that was not only a pleasant surprise, but it also allowed me to have kind of a new lease on life, in the sense that I had an aha moment and a light bulb went off in my head, not just almost literally, but also in the sense that I found a lot of meaning in the fact that there were a lot of things that I didn't realize I could control. How clearly I was thinking, how easy it was to change other behaviors that I thought were stuck or they couldn't be changed easily. Getting better sleep, getting more exercise, losing weight, regulating my diet. These things were not possible before I started taking better care of my prefrontal cortex. So if you're giving me 3 wishes, then I'm going to choose onboard people with the new app that I'll be co-creating and promoting here, maybe in the next couple weeks. I promised my co-creator that I would not pressure a deadline, and so far so good. The creative process, it's something that has its ups and downs, and sometimes I know that just on the name of the app, we went back and forth, but at the end of the day, we came up with something that's amazing. I'm excited to announce it shortly. And so, yeah, I kind of want to tease everybody, but also the reason why I'm not explaining the full details is because um, I don't want to put too much pressure on the release of this, but at the same time, I'm blown away and shocked by how nearly complete it is and how awesome it is. Um, when when I opened up to uh, my co-hosts on QuantGang, Kareem, of course, did the responsible thing by bringing up the issue of security and pointing out that you know uh, that he appreciates whenever people use code that's been audited um, or is obviously not a security risk, right? And Kareem recognizes as well that I'm a trusted member of the community, um, and even as such, it's important for people to verify, right? Um, that's part of trusting is verifying and doing your own research, taking on your own responsibility. So I love that he asked this question right off the bat because it's the right question to ask. And sure enough, like it will be very clear that because we're not reinventing the wheel, and we're using tools that either already exist in MetaMask or have already been developed in such a way that we would trust them and we would be able to check them in a way that doesn't rely on a bunch of brand new code, right? When the HEX smart contract launched with 2,500 lines of code, it needed to be audited more than once, which it was, unlike Bitcoin and Ethereum and lots of other projects that haven't undergone audits, although they're doing their best. So anyway, I just wanted to let people know that security is a top concern, and the security that you get from the app that we're creating, it's going to be even better than you're used to. Let's see. When sacrifice? When the time's right. Whoa! Somebody made a $500 donation. Ski Cat, you're back! Oh my God. I'm so excited, Ski Cat. I miss you. And I appreciate everything that you do for the community. It's, Ski Cat is another legendary example of how giving the HEX community is. And so I really appreciate it. I've also been inspired by Ski Cat. So I really appreciate it. I guess now is a pretty good time to announce that this was completely by chance. Ski Cat and I didn't plan this out or anything, but guess what? We're gonna go to a place in Vegas to honor Ski Cat. It turns out, so I'll type this out into the HEX meetup Telegram so that everybody gets a notification. But this is just too perfect. I have to announce it now. It turns out that the Mom Museum, we had planned to meet up and do a cheers to HEX. Plenty of people won't be drinking, but just a literal cheer, like right at 5 o'clock Las Vegas time. That's when the contract rolls over and when everybody gets paid their daily trustless interest. Let me click. I want to bring up the banner with Ski Cat's donation here. And thank you so much to Hex Live for the $4.99 super chat. Let's see here. Thank you, Casey. Wow, awesome. So, okay, so now people know what I'm talking about. Ski Cat. Ski Cat has been a member of the HEX community as an anonymous donor who has contributed millions of HEX worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over time to people who were promoting HEX and trying to educate others. And so um, I really appreciate the donation. And like I said, this was not planned, but again, the universe conspires here. So in Las Vegas, we had planned to meet up at 4 o'clock so that everybody could be in place for the 5 o'clock Cheers to HEX. And it turns out that the Mom Museum Speakeasy, which is the space that they were saying we could use, it's not going to be open until 7 o'clock. And so we were thinking, oh, maybe we can meet outside of the Mom Museum, but it's going to be really hot. And so it turned out that T-Money, the event organizer and our main connection there in Las Vegas, it turned out that he made a connection with somebody who's opening a new bar and restaurant called the Cat's Meow. Like, you can't make this stuff up. So the owner of this new establishment there, that's right next to the Heart Attack Grill, it's above on the second floor. First floor of Neonopolis on Fremont Street is Heart Attack Grill. And then on the second floor is the Cat's Meow, which is a karaoke bar and a place where they said we could take it over, even though we have 180 to 200 people. That Thursday, June 24th, 2 weeks from today, we'll be able to meet up there and then walk 1 block to the Mom Museum at 7 p.m. to do our big get-together there. And so it'll be at the Cat's Meow, which I believe there's more than one. So make sure you get the right address that's above the Heart Attack Grill. That's where we're going to be giving out the merch that people have ordered through their ticket. You'll be able to get your t-shirt and your special badge that helps you onboard people to HEX. And then, let's see, your face mask and some other cool stuff. I don't want to ruin any surprises right now, other than this huge surprise that the universe conspired for us to basically have a tribute to Ski Cat by, there's the Heart Attack Grill. We're still going to go to the Heart Attack Grill on Saturday. So the event will kind of start off and end in the same place, and it'll go several different meetup locations in between. Of course, on Friday, we're going to be doing the HEX Kitchen, which is across the street from the Bellagio, and is a really exciting venue. And so there's all these places. We're going to be rolling deep. We're going to be spreading out. So on Saturday, when everybody goes to the Heart Attack Grill, they can only accommodate 80 people at a time, and they're still going to be open to the public. So Hexicans can hang out in line, and wait half an hour or an hour, just kicking it with each other, getting to know different members of the community, having that quality time. And then your spot inside the restaurant will come up. And Richard Hart, that's a tribute, Heart Attack Grill. And then, or people can eat at all the other places that are within 1 or 2 minutes walking distance from that. And so the group is going to have a lot of flexibility, but also a lot of opportunity to sync up and to get to see all your favorite people in HEX. So what a surprise that Ski Cat reappears here on stream. Just last night in the middle of the night, I got the call from T-Money that we needed to change the first couple of hours of the first part of the meetup so that we can distribute the merch and start off the event on a good note there at the Cat's Meow, doing fun karaoke and doing a tribute to Ski Cat and having our run of the place. So can't make this stuff up, really. Can't. Maddie, my short video on Telegram. I don't have any other socials, so share as you need. Lost 80K in the stock market when you were in your early 20s Best thing that ever happened to you. HEX fixes this. HEX truth. Thank you, KCW, for the $20 super chat and for contributing your testimonial. You're setting an awesome example for other people for them to contribute their testimonial and to not only pump their own bags, but to pay forward this gift that we got about finding out and being educated about HEX and being early to something that we hope might end up being timeless, which is the idea of saving for your future being something that's rewarded. I think when we look at examples through history, especially in the book, The Bitcoin Standard, human productivity has always spiked whenever there was freedom and economic sovereignty, right? And so the things that HEX is fixing by allowing people to save for their future without being corrupted by centralized entities, that's something that can continue to compound in a way that creates more abundance in the world. And that's really the solution for the ills that our current economic system faces. Let's see. I really appreciate all the comments, and I hope everybody, if you've had questions in the chat, I hope that other members of the community have been able to answer your questions. I'm happy to see everybody who's here. A lot of familiar names. Just randomly starting off in the middle of the chat here, because I know we're getting ready to have Crypto Knights of the Roundtable do their weekly stream, which I'm excited about. And, of course, I've got a number of tasks to get back to work to on organizing the HEX meetup, encouraging people to do their HEX testimonial video, and working on this onboarding app. HEX Monkey, I have much gratitude these days. Me as well. Whales Only, good to see you. Crypto Journeyman, tip the cod oil bottle every day. There you go. There's a number of fish oils that have similar beneficial effects, and that's what we're talking about. So I hope that people take me up on that biological education. Electrochemical beings. This is just the beginning, Crypto Gains Club. Let's see. Animals in an example, getting fed omega-3. Yes, you can take vegan omega-3. That's correct. And that's what a number of the people in the community have pointed out. And I'm thankful and think that option is awesome. Are you covered if you eat salmon steak once a week? I would say eating fish, as long as it's one of the fish that's high in omega-3, such as salmon or tuna, if you eat these 3 times a week, then you'll be getting enough. If not, then go ahead and take the supplements accordingly. You can get omega-3 for about $6 per month from a grocery store or any other source. I have a link in the description below of the kind that I take, which is the Sam's Club brand. Let's see. Oh, and people notice a difference after 1 week to 4 weeks only, a noticeable difference. So if you want mad gains in your brain functioning and the control over your own behaviors, including making your hands stronger and thinking more clearly, that's it's going to be helpful. I'll buy tomorrow. I have ADHD. My frontal lobes don't work. That, like many other conditions, although people adjust, right, and find certain strengths in their ability to focus on so many things all at once, right, instead of focusing on just one thing at a time, depression, frontal lobe condition, ADHD, right? There are a number of things. Addiction uh, occurs in part due to the impulsivity and the priming of the prefrontal cortex by certain neural networks being hijacked by the nucleus accumbens, dopamine reward center, and other hypofunctioning, which means functioning worse than normal. Let's see. How do I recommend transitioning if you're stuck in that mode right now? So taking omega-3 is the first step. You got to start off with baby steps. You have to start off with something that's easy. So creating a rule for yourself, like, I will take omega-3 whenever I prepare a meal at home for myself. For me, that covered me on enough days because I prepare meals at home, usually to save money to put into crypto, and to live a modest lifestyle, and to make sure that I get the nutrition that I like in a way that I enjoy the taste, right? That's how I made it easier for myself to create that routine, to create that behavior sequence, so that I wouldn't have to remember at random times of the day a million different things. If you create systems or behavioral action patterns, it not only serves as a reminder or a trigger for you to do the thing, but it might also put you in the right place at the right mood to act on that behavior change that you haven't done yet because you didn't make it easy enough for yourself. So, hope that's helpful. Lose my keys all the time. Good example. Oh, are we getting a pump? New all-time highs? Don't mind that. Very cool, very cool. Salmon is good. Lots of people in the chat like salmon. It's good to hear. I look so happy. I'm glad. I'm glad it shows, right? Unicorn pink, what are we talking about? Well, hit the rewind button, put it on 2x. That way you'll be able to catch up and then switch over to Crypto Knights of the Roundtable coming up next in about 3 minutes here. Talking about health. Members of the chat are explaining. Don't over tease, I'll get high school flashbacks. All right, children in the grave. Noted, right? 51 and wake up every day. There you go. Sacrificing days, not weeks. Korean investor, also excited. I mean, Ski Cat is a crowd favorite. If you're over there on Twitch, which some people are, on my phone, it's hard for me to get on Twitch because it's got so many bugs on it, the Twitch app. But I made a special emoji that you can use to honor Ski Cat. It's the Ski Cat cheer or emoji or whatever. So I'm not sure if you have to be subscribed to me or if it's just a default thing that you can use. But there's a lot of ways we can recognize and follow the example of people in our community. This is what I'm trying to do by remembering to be grateful and to try to pay forward what's being paid to me. And whether it's the people who are watching, who are giving me all the energy I need, or it's the people who are making donations, right? Setting a good example. Or it's people like Richard Hart, who are creating products and educating us. There's so many reasons why I'm pumped and inspired to do this. And so I hope that inspires other people. Maybe that'd be like my greatest hope. And so again, thank you to Ski Cat. Let's see. I think he's going to start in 15 minutes. So I actually have a little bit more time. Sure. Yeah, I'm excited. Brand, do you know which channel it's going to be on tonight? I haven't searched around. I know you guys do a rotating channel. Um, let's see. Do Jack in the Box tacos have omega 369? I'm not sure. Probably not enough, but go ahead and do your own research. um, let's see. So I can go back up in the comments here and see what we missed. I know it cuts off after so many comments, so you might have to repost if you had something that you really wanted to get covered. Another Ninja Genie. That's right. Yeah, from the D-Live days. Um, let's see here. Am I in an RV? Um, that's for me to know. I guess like, yeah. No, I'm doing a tour of the country, but also not. So, let's see here. So, what else do we have to say? Here's for those people who are just reading my lips. I've got a banner that says make a 60-second video and post it on Twitter, how HEX helped you or why you like HEX, hashtag HEX challenge. You can put an @ symbol at Maddie ALLin. Otherwise, Markable and I will scour the hashtag to try to find all the videos that people have put out there. And we really appreciate your participation for the reasons I said earlier. Let's see. Pulse Chain. Go to pulsechain.com, and that's where you will find links to the Telegram group, t.me/pulsechaincom. And then you can read the pinned posts, the posts that have been pinned, and you'll be able to see exactly where the project is and where it hopes to go, which is to launch soon with an initial investment phase, and then to have the fully functional chain, the full fork of Ethereum with its entire system state to go live shortly thereafter. So I know that there's a lot of people excited, such as myself, because we will be able to do transactions on the Pulse Chain network that not only have a 3-second block time instead of a 10-second block time, but also will cost a penny instead of costing $5 or $500 to do a swap, which we've seen both of those outrageous fees in the past month. And then I guess, if people haven't ordered a ticket for Vegas yet, make sure to do that. We're in the late registration period. And I'm going to have to scramble to make sure we have a t-shirt that's in your size. So go ahead and get that order in, because there will be limited space at many of the venues. And so we can only plan ahead for the people who gave us the courtesy of letting us know ahead of time. So that'll also pay for your merch and more. At the nightclub, you'll be able to skip the line and not pay a $60 cover fee if you have the ticket that we're providing there. So go ahead and go to hexmeetup.eventbrite.com if you haven't already. And another shout out to the Coin Gang. We had an awesome stream. Again, met our average quota of 5 hours, which we stream on every Tuesday night. We had our 20th episode of Quant Gang. You can see all 20 episodes on the YouTube playlist located at quantgang.com. And it was a great time. And so that's continues to get better and better as we get the opportunity to further educate and go over the emergent properties of HEX and how different it is from other cryptocurrencies. And so having Kareem the Dream, who covers the business and hype side of things, as if we don't all do that, he is our shining example of what a lot of people use as their hype and excitement for HEX. Then we have Whales Only, who does the charting and the economic side of things, being from the finance world. And then myself, bringing the aspect of psychology. And also, all three of us have a history of understanding where crypto has been and where it's going. And so people tune in for all kinds of reasons, some of which are that there have been a lot of predictions that we made that came true. And because we backed it up with quantitative analysis, hence the name Quant Gang, that gave people the confidence and reasoning to take their own calculated risks, to see the patterns that emerge when we look at indicators such as the DMI and other things that in this market have been able to show where the tops and the drops have been. And so I would highly recommend checking that out, as well as checking out Whales Only, the streams that he does 2 or 3 other times a week, in some cases, at youtube.com/whalesonly. And let's see here. Nardo, thanks for the comment. Great show, Maddie. Korean Investor is saying video incoming. You're going to get your testimonial video in here. I appreciate it. Tarnwig, I'm glad I figured out that I needed to change my channel name so my identity is the same across platforms. That's right. We can all pool our resources and thinking when it comes to branding and the different strategies we can use in order to be effective and be recognizable across different channels. Johnny, nice donation for sure. Yeah, SkiCat is out here really contributing and proving that Hexicans are the bestikins when it comes to creating community and supporting each other. So I really appreciate it. Crispy, thanks, Maddie. I appreciate you as well. Check out HEX Fire, a stream that Crispy and I did 3-4 weeks ago, and covers the topic of acronym FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early, and how HEX puts a new spin on that old movement. Let's see. All right, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm gonna go around here and have some dead airspace while I try to find where Crypto Knights of the Roundtable are streaming today. As always, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. That'll be a big help. And it looks like Look Into Crypto is gearing up to start Crypto Knights of the Roundtable. So I'm going to drop the link here below. Uncle Kevin, thank you for the comment. You appreciate all that I've done for HEX and Hexicans. My pleasure. I'm, like I said before, I'm delighted to have a community of people that's so intelligent and inspiring. And, you know, crypto was always my hobby before I had a community that cared about it and was excited about it as much as I am. So I'm saying right back at you, I appreciate you, and I want people to tune in to the stream that you're doing here in the United States. I believe it's on Sundays, the Hex Asians stream. And so go ahead and check that out as well, because I know you've got a great syndicate of people there, OG Hexicans, and I know that Whales Only joins you a lot of times, and so you guys are broadcasting on a whole other side of the planet where people in that time zone are excited to hear about HEX as well, and so you're doing really important work. Thank you. Let's see here. Okay, so I know the next stream, it says it's starting in about 7 minutes. What are my final thoughts here? So, sudden wealth syndrome. Okay, I was right. Here we go. Hex Asians on Sundays and Mondays at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which I believe is going to come out to 8 a.m. Central Time and 9 a.m. on the East Coast. Let's see. Thank you, Ian, for your comment there. And so to wrap things up, what we found in these surveys that 300 people have filled out is that there are a number of people in the HEX community who are experiencing sudden wealth syndrome. And there are a number of people who recognize the power of community as well as trustless interest that's generated by math instead of promises, as well as the emergent properties of mental health that come out of a system that allows for saving for the future and sending money to your future self. And I believe what we will find is in the people who are using HEX and learning, just as I did, that longer pays better, and delaying gratification is something, it's a strategy that pays off in the long term for so many reasons, that you will suddenly find that sudden wealth syndrome turns into sudden wealth strength, because you have the strength of the community, you have the strength of your improving mental health, and you have the strength of the HEX smart contract and the mathematics behind it in order to create a better future for yourself and hopefully to be able to pay that forward to others. So I don't know if this is true, but Tony says that we just hit a new all-time high on stream, 7.5 cents. Wow, that's really big. And Hornet UK, congratulations for you getting another T-share. You know, I really like that the HEX community has educated each other from the early days to appreciate the value of a T-share. And I think that that's a really key word for people to be able to promote and to be able to understand that it's your share of the future compound interest that allows you to pay your future self and to execute on the contract that allows you to earn more the longer that you stake, right? How much does each share pay a day now? Well, we know that last time I checked, about a week ago, HEX was paying 5.8 HEX per T-share per day, and 5.8 HEX at the price of 7.2 cents, which is all my calculator is showing me right now, comes out to 42 cents per T-share per day. And so another reason I would recommend people checking out Whales Only, the graphs that he's posting on Twitter at twitter.com/whalesonly1 and on youtube.com/whalesonly to be able to see in the big picture. Isaac, yes, I can say yes to that. Not sure why you're asking, but happy to clear that up. And yeah, Whales Only is watching. Shout out to you. And somebody says that we got 5.9 HEX per T-share today. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much to everybody for watching. We have 2 more minutes until the stream starts. I'm going to post that again in the comments here so that people can see how to get to look into Crypto's channel. And go ahead and hit the like button over there as well as here to pump the algorithms. And let them know who sent you, that we're doing a raid live with our audience here. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and do a long outro. It's going to be 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll tide you over until the next stream. Again, thank you so much for joining us on HEX Therapy Live. Get excited about all the things that are coming here in the near future. Not only things that have been sent into the future from your past self, but also from the synchronization of the community and of our ability to pay things forward. So take care and stake wisely, my friends. Peace out.
We'll be right back.